Salute, man. This is Boxing Nocturnal Thoughts coming at y'all with another video. Three topics I want to talk about real quick, man. Unfortunately, we talking about boxing, even though I'm watching the news and the whole government is starting to admit that UFOs exist. We're not talking about these unidentified flying objects. We're going to talk about boxing. So be it. I'm going to talk about boxing. Boxing Nocturnal Thoughts, we're talking about Errol Spence. The big fish. The big fish, man. So, first of all, Errol Spence admits that he's not the same fighter anymore. We're going to talk about that because I hear people talk about that, and it's like keeping it real simple and simple-minded, and they not breaking stuff down and doing it no justice. So that's the first topic. When people are going crazy talking about Errol Spence admitted he's not the same fighter. Second conversation, second topic is talking about Jerron Boots Ennis and his whole crew. You know what I'm saying? Throwing out, casting a fishing line and trying to reel in a big fish. And Errol Spence, in a tweet, I guess, says, they don't make a rod big enough to reel me in. People talking about that and they looking at it the wrong way. They breaking it down the wrong way. It don't make no sense to me. And then the last topic I want to talk about is Terrence Bud Crawford on the Sean Porter podcast and everything he had to say. You know, the Charlos and Errol Spence really aren't from Texas. They from Illinois and from New York. And he tired of hearing about the Texas talk and some other stuff that Terrence Bud Crawford said. I'm going to break that down, those three topics, then I'm going to get out y'all way, and y'all can leave me some comments down in the below. First of all, people, they have selective hearing, and they can hear what they want to hear, and they can interpret things however they want to interpret things. For example, you can take something that's meant figuratively or jovially or tongue-in-cheek or facetious or not to be taken so seriously, but you can take it seriously and take it literally and overanalyze it and make it not make no sense at all. Errol Spence says, you got somebody, first of all, you got somebody following you all around with a damn microphone in your face asking you 1,000 dumbass questions that you done heard over and over and over and over. When you ask a dumbass question, you're going to get a dumbass answer. You know what I'm saying? Eventually. So this dude, I think it was Ellie Setback. He going around asking Errol, and I appreciate the interviews, you dig? But he's asking Errol Spence the usual questions. If people say you're not the same fighter after the accident, Errol Spence says, I'm not the same fighter, but I'm better than all the rest of these fighters. So people just highlight one half of it and say, look at that. Errol Spence admits that he's not the same fighter anymore. And I understand where they're coming from, because some people, they take any little critique and they go too crazy and they start to attack you. But just because they attack you, don't let that make you not make sense. Errol Spence saying that he wasn't the same fighter, that's not like he's admitting that anything we don't know. He said when he fought Danny Garcia, I was 70%. I wasn't even 100% when I fought Danny Garcia. I had a car accident. I came back from a car accident. I didn't want a tune-up fight. When I fought Danny Garcia, I still went through walking up the stairs. Used to hurt, and I had to rehab from that. And, physical therapy. I rehabbed myself. I did all this. I came into the fight. I was 70% when I fought Danny Garcia. So, of course, he's already admitting, I'm not even 100%. And he dominated. He dominated Danny Garcia, feeling in his own body that he was only being able to produce 70% of his performance. So he's not even denying. He's not like he's saying, oh, I'm 100%. And then, he's trying to pull the wool over somebody's eyes. So he fought Danny Garcia. He had the eye injury. He came back for your Dennis Ugas stronger. And he told you, I feel better, I feel stronger. I had a nutritionist. Camp was great. You know what I'm saying? I feel new and improved. So when he says, I'm not the same fighter, and you take it literally, when he's saying it facetiously, when he's saying it tongue-in-cheek, when he's being jovial, when he's just throwing it out there for you to answer, for you to ask me a dumb question, I'm gonna throw you a little dumb answer. And you look at that and you take it seriously. And you say, he's saying he's not the same fighter. Okay, but then what about the other half of that? But I'm better than these other fighters. And he's telling you, my fight right now is with Terrence Bud Crawford. So when he says I'm better than these other fighters, he's talking about Terrence Bud Crawford. So you can't just say, on one hand, he admits he's not the same fighter, if you want to take that literally, and then not take it literally that he's saying, but I'm still better than Terrence Bud Crawford, because he's also saying that too. So you have to highlight and overanalyze that too. You can't just say, oh, he's admitting he's not the same fighter, and then forget that he just said, but I'm still better than these dudes. So even if you take it literally, you have to say literally, he's saying he's not the same fighter, and literally, even though he's not the same fighter, he can literally still beat Terrence Bud Crawford. And if you take it, jovially and facetiously, he's saying, I'm not the same fighter, but I'm still better than these dudes. But people just want to sit there and say, oh, he's admitting that he's not the same fighter. I seen it. I looked in his eyes, and he doesn't have it in his heart no more. You know what I'm saying? I looked in his soul. Blair, you sound like Blair the Flair. I looked in his soul, and I can tell he's ruining the sport of boxing. He doesn't want it anymore. He's not hungry anymore. Where do you come up with this shit? You take something that the man say, and you just spin it however you want to interpret it. That's crazy. I'll move on. Another thing. Jerron Boots in his salute. He a monster. You know what I'm saying? He talking about throwing out the reel. He reeling in the big fish. Earl Spence had a little tweet with a picture. They don't make a rod big enough to reel me in. I was listening to Boxing Voice. Ness. You just take it and interpret it however you want to. But he's talking about the fish. He's admitting that he's a fish that's running away, because fish run away from fishermen. No, not the big fish, man. A fisherman baits a hook, or he puts a lure out there and he throws that into the sea or a pond or a river or ocean. He's fishing. If he gets a little fish on the hook, that fish comes see the bait, bite the hook, gets it caught up in his damn, jaw and gills or whatever, and then he might start to panic and try to swim away, swim backwards, and you sit there and reel him in, try to reel him in. So you fighting, take off the slack, reel him in, fighting. That's what a little fish do. A big fish don't do that. A megalodon shark, a big shark, don't do that. Sharks don't even swim going backwards. You throw a little bitty line out there and try to catch a shark if you want to and see what happens. You're gonna need a bigger boat, let alone a better fishing line. A shark you ain't gonna catch no. And then what he's saying, I'm a big fish. You can throw your line out there. I'm gonna grab the bait. I'm gonna grab your line. I'm gonna break your line. I'm gonna break your fishing rod. Then I'm gonna be on some Moby Dick shit and jump out the fucking water and come down and sink your whole fucking battleship. That's what a big fish do. A little fish run. A big fish don't run. A big fish come and do what Jaws did and break the fucking boat and eat the motherfuckers that's on the boat. Cause he the big fish. They don't make a rod big enough for a big fish, for a megalodon shark, for a Moby Dick. That's the analogy. Stop trying to be so simple-minded. Last thing, Terrence Bud Crawford. He did an interview. I gotta watch the whole interview in its entirety. I don't want to take stuff out of context, but a lot of stuff he said just to me off the bat really didn't make sense. He was saying when it came to Errol Spence, that's when the whole sides of the streets was really made up. And I heard other people say Errol Spence made up the sides of the street. And we've all seen and heard Timothy Bradley before entering Terrence Bud Crawford. We've seen Timothy Bradley talk about the size of the streets in boxing politics. And all historians know, you can go all throughout history of boxing and always see it's always been for big fights, always been boxing politics and hurdles and stumbling blocks and things that get in the way of big fights that have to get moved out the way for it to happen. So for him to say, well, for me, that's when Sides of the Streets was made up, and there's really never had been any hurdles in the way, and turn around and have this huge lawsuit and admittedly say repeatedly over the history of time that it was boxing politics in the way, management, promotion, Bob Arum couldn't secure the situation, and then you turn around and you sue Bob Arum because, you're suing him for $10 million because he was slandering you and he was being racist and he was doing things that was not in your best interest to get the fight with Errol Spence. So you can't turn around and say that Errol Spence made up the Sides of the Streets and then say Bob Arum didn't do his job and you suing Bob Arum. That just didn't make sense to me. It is what it is, you know what I'm saying? That's just their business. And if that's how he feels, that's how he feels. For him to go around and say, oh man, to me, he just do a little bait jab out there like he do. That little bait jab he throws out there to try to get you to bite down on walking into one of his big shots. Same way he fights, the same way he might verbally spar as well. That little bait that he threw out there talking about, the Charlo brothers not from Texas and Errol Spencer not from Texas. I mean, it's not like to me, it was like he was trying to say they was false flagging. And I felt like that was just, that's a reach. That's a reach for me. You know what I'm saying? Like, where you from? You got guys from Philippines and Jamaica and Dominican Republic and Cuba, and Jermell Charlo had on the USA flag. You know what I'm saying? And you got fighters from all over the world, Mexico and Panama, and you know what I'm saying? Great fighters come from everywhere. You know what I'm saying? Philly, you know what I mean? New York, Atlanta, you know what I'm saying? Nebraska. I mean, you rep where you from, where they embrace you, where you done established your roots and where you done started your legacy from. So where you born at, and then you can go over here and establish a legacy and create, you know what I'm saying, your family here, and that's where you from. All that to me was just a little bit of a weak attempt to bait something to turn it into, like, dude, just represent you from Omaha, Nebraska. You know what I'm saying? Is this that dude? Is this the illest nigga in Nebraska? Is you about it, fool? You know what I'm saying? I brought a gift in my package, the whole nine for my mans in them. You know what I'm saying? I rose dolo from state to state. And then Terrence Bud Crawford come out. That's them niggas right there. Yeah, they rolling big. They rolling real big. Yeah, I don't like to drop a dime. Eating a banana and shit. I don't like that shit. I mean, come on, man. You from Omaha, Nebraska. You rep your place. That's cool beans. But Errol Spencer is a star in Texas, obviously. You know what I'm saying? And the Charlo brothers, they representing Texas, and they doing it big, undisputed. You know what I mean? Like, for real, Errol Spence is a star. Whether the fight, however it goes with Terrence Bud Crawford right now, if he win, lose, or draw, the way his story is going to be told, coming from a car accident and unifying with your Ennis guys, his story can literally start right there and be a huge star, be a movie star. They can make movies after Errol Spence. You know what I'm saying? Like Vinny Pazienza. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? We bleed for this. Got in a car accident, had to wear the halo. Bench press, got back in shape, trained with the same trainer of Mike Tyson. And then, the beginning of that movie, he lost to Roger Mayweather. At the end of the movie, he was winning against Roberto Duran. Never mind the fact that Roberto Duran was, past his prime. That's where the movie ended, with him beating Roberto Duran, movie star, the Tasmanian Devil. We bleed for this. Don't go on to mention that, he got destroyed, outboxed, and knocked out by Roy Jones Jr. His movie stops right there at beating Roberto Duran. Errol Spencer could retire right now. And his legacy would be, he came from a car accident, beat Danny Garcia, and beat your Dennis Ugas. So when he goes on and beats Terrence Bud Crawford and solidifies his legacy and becomes undisputed, It ain't about, oh, you from New York, but you claiming Texas. He a star. And Terrence Bud Crawford is a star too. You know what I'm saying? Salute, man. Bow. 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 I'm gone.